Hello, good evening, and welcome to UPfront. Today, we're actually putting a spotlight on comments by the president of the most powerful nation of the world, which are derogatory by all standards and qualifications. Some have even gone ahead to say they are racist. Those are the comments of the US President Donald Trump, to the extent that we in our part of the world are virtually in the worst forms ever, and that he doesn't want any of us, Africans, those from Haiti, and also those from El Salvador, be the ones going to the United States of America. He would wish that those who are going there are from Norway. Today, we'll analyze his comments in the perspective that if we as a nation had developed a way that people here will find opportunities and develop ourselves well, could we have been still the persons and the people that President Trump would describe in those words? What can Africa do differently? We'll also gauge the responses that came from the various quarters to this particular comment from a man that has very little respect, especially for people in our part of the world, most recently for these comments that he made. When we're back from this break, I'll tell you who my guest is, and we continue our conversation up front. You're welcome back. This is UPfront. The learned Sam Okujeto is my guest. He's honorable because he's a member of Ghana's Council of State. He's not only a member of Ghana's Council of State, he's held very prestigious positions in times past, including being the Ghana Bar Association president. Sir, you're welcome to UPfront.
Thank you.
I hope you are doing well this evening.
By His grace.
And let's start on this particular basis. I mean, of course, it's been some time. The questions surrounding how a U.S. president who is mostly diplomatic and expected to conduct foreign policy for on behalf of the freedom world, or the free world in this particular case, how he can descend and make some of these comments actually baffles the minds of many. Was it unexpected of Trump to make such a comment, to your mind?
Well, being the President of the United States of America, of course, one must confess that one does not expect a statement of that nature if it is true that he said so. Because later on, as you remember, he began to deny it.
Yes, he's recanting.
Yeah, but
of course, he also has history of recanting virtually everything he said in times past.
That is so. If he had apologized, it would have been a different issue altogether. But it's rather a denial, which, of course, brings back to another perspective. How will a senator go and fabricate a story of that nature if it did not happen? And, well, different people have different views about him as president. Sometimes depend upon which political side they are at. You know that America is almost as polarized as we are in Ghana.
Interesting.
Whereby if you are NDC, an MPP president will not say anything which is right. And if you are MPP, an NDC president will not say anything which is right, which is unfortunate, but that is what it is tending to be. So in America, it's the same thing. I've heard some Republicans defend him totally and completely. Some even say that he could not have said what he's alleged to have said. But nevertheless, that is an unfortunate situation because normally we expect that presidents of a country, we hold them in such high esteem that, like something they used to say in the past, they said, he must be like Caesar's wife. Yeah. That means beyond any amount of reproach altogether. But unfortunately, something like this has happened. And so you just have to take it and analyze and find out what is it that we as Africans have done to deserve this kind of chastisement.
I will come to that, but I'll first and foremost help us evaluate the responses. First, on the continent, of course, in the US, there was a lot of response, negative in this particular case. But here in Africa, Botswana was the first to have said this is unacceptable. Then Ghana's president
said it.
Of course, former President Mahama also had made some comments in that direction. Then the AU came out with a statement.
That's right.
Then the UN came out with a statement.
That's right.
Indeed, the AU demanded apology.
That's
the
correct.
UN said it would fund xenophobic tendencies in the United States of America,
right.
which they actually condemned in no uncertain terms.
That is true.
Were these responses appropriate and right?
Well, let's put it this way. If you object strongly to an issue, the proper thing to do is to respond. Because you know there are often times that where people say, oh, just be diplomatic. But now being diplomatic sometimes can mean you are condoning what you think is wrong or what is not right. And my own view, of course, is that if the thing is wrong, it's wrong. And the proper thing to do is to condemn it.
Okay.
Or to object.
Okay.
Or demand an apology, whatever you desire.
Okay.
Sometimes, of course, you can demand apology, it may not come. But nevertheless, it means you have shown your resentment to what had happened. And it happens here all the time where you see people do things, and then when you say, they say, oh, you too, you shouldn't have reacted like that. And I say, well, being a Christian, sometimes I see that when I condone sin, it makes me a sinner.
Interesting.
Oh, yes. When you condone sin, you also become a sinner. Many Christians in Ghana don't understand that. They assume that, okay, it's all right, I'm to forgive them, that's the end of it. No, when the thing is bad, say it is bad, condemn it.
But does it work the same way in the diplomatic circles?
Well, diplomatic circles, you know, they play the diplomacy as you like, which means that sometimes you play around it. You know, the normal thing is the foreign minister will normally have called the ambassador of the country concerned, and then inside it they do their protestation.
Okay.
They don't wave the war flag, but at least they showed protestation, which means that the ambassador is supposed to carry that message back home to the effect that what has happened in my country, the other countries affected do not seem to like it.
President Akufo-Addo condemned it. Was he right?
Oh, yeah. In fact, if he had not condemned it, I think we, the Ghanaians, would have rather be on his heel as to why he did not. So I think he's
But he's
very
not
right.
the only African president.
No, we are Ghanaians.
Why would he set us on the collision course against the US of A, the almighty US of A?
But you know, I think if you analyze his statement quite carefully, it's as if we are not coming to beg and therefore to condone what is an insult to us. I think that is the gist of what I heard him say. And I think it's very important for us to say that. Otherwise, it reduces us to a beggar nation.
Aren't we a beggar nation?
I don't believe that we are.
The evidence suggests we are.
No, I don't think that we are a beggar nation. We may have, let's say, accepted certain situations in the past which we don't think is right. But on the whole, we are a rich country which has virtually messed ourselves up and then gives an impression as if we are begging. And I don't think it is true.
Okay, well, I'll come to that. Some also have said that, those on the extreme side, and let me be clear on that, have said that even the condemnation of the president was low. It was a low blow. It was not strong. He should have gone ahead to have actually called in the American ambassador to Ghana and had strong words for him, or asked the gentleman to leave our shores because of the conduct of his president, which is, to all intents and purposes, offends the sensibilities of the entire nation.
Well, I have not seen any country in Africa which has demanded that the ambassador be withdrawn or had ordered the ambassador to leave the shores, because that's an extreme example. Normally, if you do that, you should expect the other aspect to happen, because they will automatically also expel your ambassador.
Yeah.
And you may find out that the ambassador is there representing his country for so many other purposes. He's there to protect your own national within the country.
Okay.
And if you do that, then it means that you've made your own national vulnerable. They have no protection any longer. That's why something like that, one should be careful the way it is handled. I believe that the condemnation was strong enough.
That's okay.
Yes.
How about the AU? AU said they wanted an apology, never got an apology.
Well, that is the bigger body, which of course is what dovetails for the whole of the continent. And it's better that they do it rather than a country
asking for the apology.
Exactly.
Anyway, but it was never rendered.
Well, let's be. Sometimes, you know, we Ghanaians sometimes like magic. And we are so used to magic. Because you said that because you demand apology, it must come immediately. You work at it.
Okay.
You may not do it today, you may not do it tomorrow, but it might happen.
This is Trump we are talking about.
Yes, I know. We know he's Trump. I mean, we know how strong he is.
Did you support him?
No.
Did you support the Republicans?
No, I have never supported Republicans, unfortunately. I am a supporter of the Democrats.
Really?
Yes.
Do your political philosophy sync with them?
Well, let's put it this way. There are times where maybe they take certain extreme positions, which is not what I would like.
Okay.
Although I know that the MPP seems to more support them rather than...
Yeah, the Republicans, right? So,
yes,
I mean, I know your political philosophy is inside of the NPP.
Yeah, that is true. But
I am unable to reconcile why you would support the Democrats.
No, you see, you need to know who I am. I am one person, even if I am an MPP and the MPP does something which is not correct, I say it.
That's true.
I am not going to condone something which is wrong merely because of political affiliation. In fact, I take a stand on that matter. And I say, look, if the thing is wrong, it is wrong.
Okay.
Don't talk about party because the party is not a label that is it. I've seen people move from one party to the other.
Yes,
over the years. Oh, I've watched it. People were CPP, the CPP was overthrown, and the Progress Party came into office. Some of them turned around, became ministers on the Progress Party government. I used to actually.
But that's not people who are strong-willed. They are not people who actually are ideologically inclined.
But they are still humans. They are still humans.
But that's not like a very principled stand to take.
Well, I just want you to understand that in the politics, people are not this party or that party because their parents belong to it. Sometimes people look at it objectively, and sometimes they may even be like, you see that the leader is not doing the right thing, and then you find another leader who is doing the right thing, even though he belongs to the other side. And you might prefer rather to support this one rather than the one that you have supported previously.
But you've not crossed carpet before.
Who?
You.
No, I have not actually crossed carpet. You know, sometimes people misconstrue that matter all the time. I remember at one time, I was being accused of being a CPP.
Yes.
And I was laughing because I told them that I have never belonged to CPP. That I was a student in England where I was asked to join NASO, which is National Association of Socialist Students. And then they'll give me a scholarship. And I refused.
Oh, okay.
And I did not have a scholarship. And all the Ghanaians had scholarship. And I alone did not have scholarship. So at least I stood on my principle to say that I'm not going to be a party. So
you are capitalist true and true.
No, nothing to do with capitalism. You might even say that I'm a socialist at heart.
so that's a very difficult philosophical stance to defend.
Yeah, because I am one person who thinks that the poor must be helped to raise themselves, and that somebody has to help them. Because there are many of them who think that they are born to be poor, as if God had condemned them. And I say it is not true. God has not made anybody to be poor. Many of them is just a mental state they are in. And all you need to do was to encourage them.
I get your point. But I need us to actually get back on this particular track to do with Trump. And I was asking you about the responses from the various units. And you said that maybe some time will come where Trump may finally apologize.
Maybe. He may never do it.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, he may never do it.
But there's an important matter that mostly many would want to ask. Is the claim that Africans are wallowing in poverty and squalor not true?
There are both a yes and a no about it. You know, just as when I was coming here.
Sub-Saharan Africa, apart from Southeast Asia, is the poorest.
When I was coming, someone sent me some video. No, it was not a video. It was something about the reportage of Ghana in the Chinese press. And I was going through it. I mean, I know Ghana has beautiful places, but the way it is portrayed in those pictures, I mean, it's just amazing. As for how the China person has seen Ghana, the beauty of the country, portrayed, as opposed to this concept of saying that we are wallowing in poverty. You know something? I remember as a student, when I was then studying in Belgium, and there was a journalist and other people who came and there was a discussion. And the impression that I got from those people was that we were living on trees. So, I mean, I looked at them and I laughed because I have seen the kind of tenement houses that they were living in.
Interesting.
And I have seen more beautiful houses in Ghana than what they were. In fact, I left Gold Coast.
Yeah.
I left Gold Coast when Gold Coast became Ghana. But there were more beautiful houses
in the then Gold Coast.
There are some of the tenement houses in which the people in Europe were living in. And right now, I can tell you that if you go to East Legon and places like that, I mean, sometimes I just drive around. I can't afford to live in those places like that. But I drive around and I see these huge mansions and I say, wow, how many people are living in such a place? Then I remember seeing places in, let's see, Los Angeles, Chicago, Washington, Florida, and I said, wow, some of the the billionaires, some of the houses here are much more beautiful than even what some of the billionaires
But you can't take away the reality that the chances of you dying young in our part of the world is higher than the other part of the world.
I'm not going to dispute it.
The Human Development Index is also higher for them. I mean, the chances of a child surviving and getting education is higher for that part of the world than compared to this part of the world.
I will not dispute any of those issues. But I'm just saying that when you lump everybody together into that mold of making an assumption that people are poor, they're living in abject poverty, the majority are. That's true. And you ask, why should that be so? Then that comes back to the issue and say, well, those who come into office as leaders, are they conscious of this? And then have they put any program in place to reverse that situation? If you see the young men, for example, who go and get drowned in the Mediterranean, and then you say, no, Ghanaians cannot be part of it. And then sometimes you see the list, and you find out that there were many Ghanaians in it. Or those in who landed in Greece, who landed in Italy, who were in France, in the jungle and the rest. And you find out there are Ghanaians amongst them. Then it means that, hey, maybe the thing is not as good as we are pretending that it is. That there's something fundamentally wrong. That's why people should risk their lives to go into those kind of places. And I am sure that many have lost their life without their parents even knowing.
Yes, we understand so.
Many parents assume that they are in Europe working, and they haven't heard from them for a long time, when indeed they have drowned in the Mediterranean. So something is wrong, which means that we need to create an atmosphere that can provide jobs for the people, that can enable them to have their livelihood, that can maybe make them appreciate that they are better off staying at home than that assumption that the grass is greener. Because to tell you the truth, many of them, they go there, they don't get jobs.
That's true.
Many of them end up by picking fruits, working in cleaning streets, which they would not like to do at home.
So what have we done wrong to disincentivize our own people that they would like to risk their lives and go on these journeys?
Perhaps it is true that we've not created enough job opportunities for them.
Okay.
I think that's it. Many are not properly schooled.
Yeah.
Therefore, they don't have the basic education that can enable them to earn a livelihood. That's one. Number two, those who have a little bit of education. Because when you go and you interview those people, you can see many of them some are illiterates.
Okay.
That means So how they were even going to communicate where they are going becomes a big problem.
Okay.
That they cannot even communicate because they cannot even speak English. So that becomes a big problem. It means we did not channel. No, look, okay, we've been independent for 60 years.
Yeah.
Now, in Nkrumah's time, there was supposed to be compulsory, free primary education.
Yeah.
Now, how come that on the streets you can see all these people are selling dog chain, oranges, lemon, and the rest of them? Who can't speak a word of English? What happened to the compulsory fee-free education? In fact, your parents were meant to be punished for not sending you to school.
Yeah.
And yet that law has been there. It was not enforced. And sometimes I have to remind the young ones that in the colonial period that some of us grew in, that there was extramural studies whereby people, men and women who were not schooled, they provide them opportunities to learn, to read and write. To the extent that we were even having at that time vernacular literature bureau. And newspapers were published in the major vernaculars, like Twi, Ewe, Gan, Hausa.
Okay.
Newspapers were published so that those people can also read and know what is going on. But for some unspoken reason, all those things have died out. And so now, if you don't have an opportunity of going to school, that's the end, you are condemned for the rest of your life. You have no opportunity again to learn anything. If you go to school and you are not the very bright one, they promote you wholesale through the process. So you see that some allegedly have finished SHS. They can't even add.
Okay.
If they write English, you can't read it. The other day we were even conversing with my colleagues and he was telling me that there are many who have even graduated from university, but if you see the English they write, you'll weep. So you ask yourself, did they actually got a degree? So these are the dangers we have created for ourselves. And what is happening now is the end result of it. But then you must also appreciate that there are many also who have left the shores of this country and gone abroad and have made it and become shining examples. You know, just before I left the office, I was talking about someone whom I knew in America. It's called Victor Lawrence, and who is in the Inventors Hall of Fame.
Oh, I see.
In the U.S.
Ghanaian?
Ghanaian. He invented the fiber optics application for internet. Ghanaian.
He's also Ghanaian. I've heard of Dr. Thomas Mensah.
No, this one older than Thomas Mensah.
Oh, okay.
This one is the one who invented it.
Okay.
And he's in the Inventors Hall of Fame. And then recently, I think you heard about, in fact, he attended Shmota School.
Okay.
Yeah. So you hear people out there, and then of course recently you hear this about this young woman called Bozoma St. John.
Yes, of course. She came to Ghana.
Yeah. She went to Accra Church School, my church school. That's where she went to. And then you see her shining. And then yesterday I saw on the internet that the fire, you remember the fire in New York?
Yeah.
That built apartment. That was a soldier.
A Ghanaian soldier.
Ghanaian, who went to America 5 years ago. And he was the one who went to rescue not only his family, but rescued so many people. And then went back again to rescue some more people when he was caught in the fire. And he's been given the highest civilian honor in the U.S. Now, so you ask yourself, is there anything wrong in people moving from one country to another? After all, the president of America, his own parents were also immigrants. Yeah, the mother from Ireland, the father elsewhere. And when you begin to see that all the various countries were all populated now by people who have moved from one country to another. Then we should be careful now when we begin to condemn migration as if it's a crime.
So there's really no problem with migration, except for the reasons or the factors for which you are migrating. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, what I'm saying is that every country has the right to admit or reject those who want to come to your country.
Yeah.
If you have good reason for doing that. But one should not condemn migration outright, because America is a country of migrants.
That's true.
Britain, when I was there as a student, I can tell you that you see a few Indians around here, a few blacks from the West Indies, and then the rest of us who are colonial students.
Okay.
But now when you go there, it's completely different. There are places I go and I stand. I remember I was telling some Indian friend the other day that I was in the northern part of London and I saw Mercedes-Benz cars. So something just asked me to count the number of Mercedes cars that were passing. And then I counted, and almost from about 12 of them, 10 of them were being driven by women who were all Indians.
That's interesting.
That's right. That shows what has happened to that country all of a sudden. And you go to some parts of London right now, you find out that it's almost all Indian. So that country's demography has changed completely. And much of the hypermarkets in London are owned by people of Indian descent, who were the ones that Idi Amin drove away from Uganda. They own the hypermarkets.
That's interesting. How do we collectively as Africa and also as Ghana respond to this particular challenge? Because it's not only threatening to kind of migration, he's also threatening to kind of other forms of migration like the visa lottery. He's also virtually saying that I do not want you in my country. How do we respond to such an issue? Mindful of the fact that many people in this country are willing to just move.
Well, many people are in this country are just willing to move. We also need, of course, to assure many of our own people that sometimes you are better off staying at home and making a mark, because the grass is not always greener there, as you are aware. Because when you go there, you see the level of unemployment. I mean, I've been to LA and saw people with a shopping cart.
Yeah.
And all their possession is inside that thing. And then they will sleep under the gutter. And then the winter comes. And you ask how. And these are not our immigrants, these are nationals. And at one time, I remember I was in Washington, D.C. The weather was so cold that they had to send ambulance and had to go and collect people because they would freeze to death. To the particular center being run, I think, by, I'm not sure which of the church organization was doing it, and then to provide them with hot meal. That is what is going on in those countries. That's why I'm saying that the Ghanaians should appreciate that the grass is not always greener at the other side. That at least when you are here, you can go to your family people, they can take care of you. And if you are industrious, to tell you the truth, I am around and I ask myself, why should anybody go hungry and say he's looking for a job? Well, I'm seeing some people come to me and they say, I've got a master's degree and for 5 years, 6 years, I've not been able to get a job. I said, you went to wrong school, because I don't know what they were teaching you there. They should have taught you entrepreneurship in addition to whatever else you were studying. Then you don't go looking for a job, you create the job.
But it's not easy. It's not easy at all.
No, because they're not using their head.
Because you need capital. You don't have
capital.
No,
that is the problem. Look, when you see the history of many of the multi-millionaires and billionaires in America, and you study their life history, you will be shocked to see how they started life. Some were selling newspapers when they were students.
I get you.
To look after themselves.
But the circumstances might be very different now.
No.
Without the right push.
No. I can tell you that if you go around society and you try to find out what are the needs of the people in that particular community, and you make the attempt, you will make it.
Okay.
You will make it. It's a question of providing the needs or the things that people need. It can be done. We have fertile land. What does it take to farm? To produce food, to feed yourself, and extra to sell. Our uneducated women, whom you see along the roadside, I mean, you drive through outside Accra, don't you?
Yeah.
When you drive outside Accra, you will see people are selling foodstuffs all along the road. Who gave them the capital?
But they should at least have land. And it's not everybody that has this.
Some of them are actually going to buy the stuff from the farmer, and then they come and put at the roadside and sell.
Okay, that's
and they
interesting.
they make good margin out of it to take care of themselves, even to educate their children.
I get you.
So people are just not using their head.
So you don't think government should do anything?
No. Again, don't misunderstand me.
I get you.
Government has always a duty and a responsibility, even if it's nothing, to provide encouragement and the reorientation. You know, there's a story I always tell. Actually, I read it from somewhere. I adapted it myself in a different way. About the eaglet that was hatched by a turkey. And it grew up scratching for food with the other turkeys. Then one day the mighty eagle came and stood by him and said, "Mighty one." So he looked at him and says, "Who is the mighty one?" He says, You don't belong here." He said, "Stop your nonsense. I am a turkey. These are my colleagues." He says, "No, you don't belong here." Then he said, "Flap your wings and fly." So on persuasion, he flapped his wing, he went, dropped. Then he wanted to give us, he said, No, I said, "Flap your wings and fly." He flapped his wing, this time raised a little bit, and then again dropped. He says, "No, I say, flap your wings and fly."
Interesting.
He flapped, and this time soared into the sky. He said, "That's where you belong, the sky." And I always use this as an example to say that poverty is in the mind. There are many who think they are helpless. What they require is government, institutions, organizations like Center for Civic Education, the churches and the rest. The churches, instead of always asking for money, these are the things they should be doing to their congregations.
They should be doing what?
I say, instead of always asking their congregation for money.
Is there a problem with that?
No, I say, instead of only asking for congregation for money. I please get my word correctly.
So they should ask for the money?
No, they should encourage their members
All right.
to seek avenues by which they can improve themselves.
I get you.
I hope you are getting the picture.
I get you.
Avenues by which they can improve themselves. And if they improve themselves, they can even give you more money.
That's interesting to know. We'll take a break, and Senior Counsel will come back and continue this conversation. Well, folks, we're still on UPfront. Today, my guest is the learned member of the Council of State, Sam Okudzeto. And our conversation is varied. It started off with the happenings at Trump's land and his derogatory comments about Africa. We'll be back to continue this conversation. You welcome back. This is UPfront. My guest today is a member of the Council of State. Lawyer Sam Okudzeto, you're welcome back.
Thank you.
I hope you are doing wonderful on this conversation.
Well, I'm enjoying it.
When we were going off, I actually said that I'm asked to ask you this question. It's been 1 year since President Akufo. Today he met the media. I mean, he had a wonderful conversation with the media this week. And I'm saying it's 1 year since he's been in office. From where you sit, I mean, not necessarily as a Council of State member, knowing very how opinionated you are in this republic, how would you, in your own assessment, grade the president?
Well, I think he's done a lot of hard work. He's done a lot of very hard and good work. He's taken a lot of drastic decisions and programs that he has brought up. Many, of course, for us to be able to appreciate the result, we will need to wait for a little while because it's always difficult to say that, okay, someone comes and says, agriculture, I'm going to do this and that and that. And then, of course, 1 year, people say, that, what have we seen? And then you begin to tell them that That's not the way agriculture works.
Yes, they say that. I mean, you said you're going to improve in planting for food and jobs,
right.
but the evidence on the ground doesn't suggest that there's any tremendous
It does not work
improvement.
in 1 year, because I recollect very well Bussia's regime with my friend J. Mensah, the Minister of Agriculture, Minister of Finance.
Yeah.
They brought a lot of very interesting programs for agriculture at that time. And it was, nothing happened.
Yeah.
2 years after they kicked them out, a champion came, and within a year or so, the results of what they had done came into fruition. And we were exporting maize. We were exporting surplus rice. And everybody was congratulating a champion.
Yes.
And I was laughing at them. I said, stupid, you wait. After a year or so, you begin to see that everything will run out. They say, why? I said, because he did not make the program. The program was already before he came to be office. And so you are saying, truly, after 2 years or so, everything dried out. Then when they ask, he say, am I God? And I say, but were you God before? When it was succeeding, you were taking credit. Now that things are gone sour, you are saying that you are not God. So that is the situation. So I would say that he's put on fantastic programs.
Like which specific one?
Well, like the
free SHS.
Yeah, planting for food.
Food and jobs.
Free HS. Because education, to tell you the truth, it became a real serious matter in the country. And I can tell you that one will take a long time for us to see the results of it, or the benefit of it, rather than the result. But it is a fantastic program.
But paying for the school fees of students without accompanying improvement in the quality of the education.
All that is a part of the reform process that we should encourage him to undertake. It's a complex matter. It's very, very complex. I myself, where I sit, observing, analyzing, I realize that some people have taken it for granted. It's a small matter that you can just go and then everything will happen. No, it's not. It's very, very complex. So you will need to improve the teacher training, for example. You will need to have even specialist teachers, like maths, science, where you can have specialist teachers, not even attached to a school. My idea is that the maths teacher or the science teacher should take responsibility for a cluster of schools.
Oh, okay.
Yes, where he can lecture in this classroom and then lecture in another classroom elsewhere and another classroom elsewhere. It's a specialist knowledge. But we need to train lots of them, because I can tell you that as far back in 1978, I was in South Korea. And
it's one place that developed tremendously.
And I went with my elder brother, who was then in Nigeria, and he was getting the agency for Samsung. And we went, and we were agents of Samsung. And then when I went to the factory, I saw all these young girls in a row. And they were fixing a radio called Zenith. That was then the topmost brand of radio in the world. So I said, what is the educational level of those girls? They said they were all high school graduates.
That's interesting.
High school graduates.
In the 70s?
78. I'm being specific. 1978. High school graduates. Who were the ones who were fixing this equipment like that. And I've been back in Korea now almost 3 or 4 times. In fact, I was even there 2 years ago. And it was amazing to watch how that country has been able to consistently to develop. And so we have examples from where we can learn.
Okay.
Sometimes I tell my people that you don't necessarily have to copy, but you can adapt some of the things that we see from abroad. I think we are now in the technology age, where knowledge is no longer limited. In fact, you can even sit there and Google and get a lot of data and information.
That's true.
And so as a nation and as a people, this is what we should be doing now, and say that there's no reason why we should allow ourselves to be left behind. We should catch up. Let's look at the resources that we have and how we can transform those resources. That's why I was telling you about people who say they are looking for a job and that they are not using their head because they want somebody to come and give it to them. Spoon feeding. No. this age we are in now, people are not spoon-fed. All those you see in Silicon Valley and the rest of them, nobody gave them any capital. Nobody. They all started on their own. Some of them even Google and the rest, they set it up within a year or so.
But those who are complaining that, I mean, the fruits are not being seen 1 year down the line. The promises do not match the delivery as we speak.
No, what I'm trying to say is that promises in an election are not it's not a magic wand that you can just wave and then things will come into being. What I'm saying is that you take a government, you inherit, and you begin to go now, you find out that there's a big hole.
Okay.
Now, you have to fill the hole first.
Before you continue.
Before you can begin to build. Without that hole being filled, you can never build. So they are now filling the hole.
But just that every government has said that before. Every government is filling holes.
I don't know how many. Did the last government also say that they were filling holes?
Yes, of course.
Who made the hole for them to fill?
It was the previous one.
But they were part of it themselves.
Yes, I agree perfectly.
And so they made the hole themselves.
Yes, but they actually conceded that there were some problems, macroeconomic problems that they had to fix, and that we were just getting out of the woods in 2016. That's what we were told.
Well, I do not really. I think that might be just an excuse being given. I can tell you, I was on the Bank of Ghana board.
Yeah.
During Kufuor's regime.
I remember.
And
in 2009.
We demonetized. There was even a complaint that too many zeros were going.
Yeah.
And I said, no. This is human psychology.
The redenomination.
I said, this is human psychology.
But they said that the board benefited from that redenomination.
Which board?
Yes, the Bank of Ghana.
How can they benefit?
Because they said you took the zeros and it actually ended up with money going to some pockets.
By what process can that happen? By what process?
You've not heard it before?
No. The person who is talking about it must be so stupid and so ignorant about how the monetary system works. The zeros we take, we didn't put the zeros in our pocket.
I said that you took some money out of the system.
How can you take the money? How can you take the money? The question is...
When you brought in new currency, you took old ones.
My goodness. You have so much money in your account. Now it's replaced by a new note.
Yes.
The old is burnt out.
Bent?
Yeah, that's the way the monies are done. Because nobody can use the money. Nobody can use an old money. Because what you are talking about, I've heard that also made against Badema.
Yes.
And which...
They say repeated the same thing. And
this is why I'm saying that some Ghanaians can be so ignorant. That it's just incredible. Badema was for that time Minister of Finance. Minister of Finance does not run Bank of Ghana. So how can he take money out of this country? In any case, the money is useless. As soon as it is over, the money is burned because you cannot use it. Because the money is now replaced by a new money. Now, if I had benefited from the Bank of Ghana money, I wouldn't be working. If I were to steal there, I won't be working. And if have stolen the money, by this time, I think Atamil's government would have prosecuted me. They would have prosecuted the governor. They would have prosecuted all the board members of the bank. Whoever has prosecuted anybody for stealing, you cannot, because this is what I'm saying, that Ghanaians can be so dumb that any kind of silly statement or stupid statement that
they will believe it.
They just believe almost anything they do.
That's interesting to know.
We don't handle money. We don't handle money as board members of the Bank of Ghana. We don't handle money. We only take policy decision. That's all that we do.
Okay.
But all I wanted to say was that because of what we did psychologically, the cedi was equivalent to a dollar. In fact, at one time, the cedi was even stronger than the dollar.
Yeah.
That was the kind of legacy we left for our Tamils. So what is the whole they're talking about?
Well, that's interesting to know. I didn't know that was the point you were going to make there. But I mean, subsequently, the city is now to force.
Exactly, because it be messed up. Because they went on a borrowing spree, you know, borrowing left and right. And
but borrowing has not stopped under President Akufo-Addo.
The president was being asked at that time, and he said, "I'll borrow and I'll borrow again." And I say, "Hey, my friend, the country is not yours, so you don't make statements of that nature. You are answerable to the people of Ghana. So you cannot say you borrow and you borrow. No, you can't just borrow money. If you are borrowing money, the money must be concrete borrowing. It means you're going to invest that money into such a way that it can pay back the loan that you are taking.
But they made such arguments too. They said that
they
build the Nkrumah interchange, they build the Kaswa interchange, and the Gang of Four Roads. All of these were investments that they borrowed money to do.
How much does those things cost? And how much was the kickback which was involved in those projects?
But Council, for you to suggest there was kickback, you should surely have evidence.
Well, those who are claiming that they did not, they should come with the account and let us look at it.
Interesting.
And I can tell them point blank that the expenditure you made does not match what you have done. I can bring the engineers from Ghana, not from outside, from Ghana, to go and evaluate the thing and give us a report.
It's interesting to note. And to your mind, has President Akufo performed very well?
Well, I just told you, I said, it is not an easy job because sometimes I worry for him in the sense that he works too much.
Really?
Yes, he works too much. He will wake up very early in the morning. He'll go and work sometime until about 10 o'clock in the night. And then this function is there, that function is there, and is there. Sometimes I ask him, I say, please, don't you take some time and rest. And cut down on what you are doing. Because he's a man in a hurry. He's a man in a hurry who wants to achieve results. And this is what I say, that he needs for us to encourage him, but also to help him. Because it's not a one-man job.
I get you.
Governance is not a one-person job. Governance involves so many other people. And sometimes you want to be sure that even your minister, those you appoint into boards and the rest, they're also doing the right thing.
And that's the question I'm asking you next. Do you think they are doing the right thing?
Well, I have not been able to make a proper valuation of those things. So
the things you hear?
Let me on. No. As for hearing, it's like we are in Ghana.
Yeah.
Ghanaians love rumors. It's just incredible. That's what I can tell you.
Really?
They love
because they know what's happening on the ground.
No, they love rumors, and sometimes they manufacture that if you are not careful, you don't understand the way the governance system works, you can swallow it. Just like what you were telling me a few minutes ago about Bank of Ghana people.
Oh, but you should have heard this long time ago. They've been saying it didn't start today.
I said Ghanaian. I didn't say today.
Okay, so there's always been the case.
Ghanaians they love. In fact, they sit down, they imagine something, and then they think it's true, and they will put it in such a way that if you're not careful, you join in the bandwagon to sing song.
Now, let me find out from you. Fight against corruption. Yes. Are we winning the fight?
Well, to tell you the truth, I was worried all along as to whether that thing can be seriously undertaken. But I was so elated when this special prosecutor was appointed.
Oh, that gave you hope?
Yeah, you know something? It's amazing because last year, as soon as they mentioned this question about special prosecutor, I told my colleagues, I said, Martin Amiru should be the right person for the job. And they were all shocked. They looked at me. I said, no, you don't understand. He is a member of the NDC. And he knows more than most of us know as to what was going on.
Okay.
And therefore, he's the right person to unearth some of the wrong thing that has happened. But also because he's a person, you might like to call him a no-nonsense person. The MPP people who also might have some tendency to behave like their predecessors would not be scared. Because Martin Amiru is not the one person you are going to say, okay, no, please stop this prosecution against this person.
You are convinced he can do
I
the
know
job?
him very well.
He can do the job?
And he would definitely do it.
But some have also said that he will abandon the job when he's frustrated.
No. What's the frustration?
Political pressure, of course.
No, the job gives him no latitude, no limitation. The president himself has appointed him, and if he goes tomorrow and says he's removing, he will be in trouble himself. He knows it. That's why he appointed him. Because he had worked there and knew exactly what the nature of the work which is involved.
Okay.
And so I have all the confidence that Martin will do his work. And that when he's doing, we should stop making screaming left hand, as the Ghanaians love to do.
Some say he may witch hunt those in the NDC.
What is it? There's nothing about witch hunt involved in it. If you haven't done anything wrong, who is going to witch hunt you? If you have done nothing. Some of us were targeted by the PNDC before. And they locked me out 3 times in prison. But nobody took me to court to prosecute me.
Okay.
So, let's put it this way.
So now you are hopeful that Akufo-Addo is really fighting corruption?
I think so.
Just because of the
I think that appointment alone that he has made has given me a hope.
But corruption goes beyond that.
No, I'm just saying that it's given me hope.
How he has handled some of these corruption scandals that has come up, do you think he has done well?
I am just saying that what has happened now has given me hope. I was worried before to say that, look, that thing is corruption. It's such a delicate issue in the sense that sometimes on the face of it you will not see anything, and yet underneath things are happening. And the kind of machinery you need to check that, it's not simple.
Okay.
Because you can say you rely on the police, but what is the integrity of they themselves? You can say you are relying on ECO. What is the integrity of the people who are there themselves? You can talk about BNI and the rest. Some of them they will take into political weapon to use.
Okay.
So you need someone who does not have any of those tangles to work upon it. Rather, my prayer is that we will provide him with all what he needs to enable him to do it. Because he alone cannot do it. He needs staff. He needs a strong staff. He needs a staff who are themselves incorruptible. Because we've seen situations whereby Attorney General person was sent to court to prosecute someone. And then we saw that money was paid into his wife's account.
Yeah.
Now, that's not the kind of situation that some of us would like to see.
Before we actually wrap up this conversation, the Electoral Commission is in a complete mess. They have a job to do, but they're not doing anything. How do we fix that problem?
Well, you know that they themselves landed themselves in that, in the sense that the chair was accusing the deputies were accusing the chair.
Yeah.
And of course, somebody took advantage of that and asked for a petition for their removal. And so that the process is on.
We should wait for that process?
We have to, there's no way, because they cannot sack them without the process going through for us to know whether they've been cleared or not.
But the Constitution gives the President, upon the establishment of a prima facie, to proceed to actually ask them to leave office for some time.
No. They can stand aside if it's possible.
Yes.
But I don't know why the President has not taken any step. But perhaps he's also weighing the political
Because if you
climate.
check, just last week, an attempt to go to that particular office has been met with some Ioko and other things.
I heard about one of the deputies.
Yes.
Say that she was frustrated sitting there in the house, so she wanted to go to work.
Yeah.
And then they went and stopped her. I don't know the nature of what is going on.
So,
but
what would be an effective solution?
Someone should just go to court and decide that the court should give an injunction to prevent them from going, and they will do it.
Is it possible?
Oh, yeah.
But there are constitutional process for determining whether or not.
That's what I'm saying, that process is going on. But you can raise enough argument in the Supreme Court to the effect that the work there has come to a standstill. And because of that, it's important that other people should take over the job and be doing it while this inquiry is made. And that if the inquiry is completed and they're exonerated, they can go back to work.
Maybe my final question to you will be on where you think Ghana is heading first and foremost, because there's a lot of talk about we not always making improvements. We take 2 steps forward, then take 1 step backwards, because the state has been going in circles and we don't know how and where we want to go. Are you sure in your mind that we are on the right path?
Well, I had used that terminology before in 1970. And got myself into trouble.
That's interesting.
It's funny you're repeating that to me now. Well, it's true that as a nation, we have had wonderful opportunities to make progress. And sometimes we mess it up.
Okay.
And I remember Kufo coming and saying that he was going to eradicate poverty.
Yes.
And then another time when he was confronted, he says poverty has corruption. He said corruption has been there since time.
Adam's time.
It was an error. Statement like that shouldn't come. You see, we should also appreciate, as I was telling you from the beginning, that the whole thing is a process. A process means that it does not happen one day. You start and you build it up gradually until you succeed.
Is this parliament different? This parliament has actually instituted 2 probes so far in this first year actually into office. You said parliament was the weakest link some time ago. Has it changed?
No, they haven't changed. They haven't changed because, again, it's the same thing. They like to, don't love to play to the gallery instead of doing the actual work. You see,
so the current probes are just playing to the gallery?
Yeah, because, you see, for you to make allegation against someone, you need to gather enough data with you so that when the thing comes, you can say, okay, this is this, this is this. No matter the proper, I tell people, I say, it's like we in court. When you come like that and your opponent comes not knowing what you have, and then you come and you say, look at this document. Did you alter it? Look at this one. And you find out that gradually you build up your case.
So there's very little substance in these probes?
No, the probe themselves were called in because the thing was receiving such public acclaim that the speaker was compelled to create the probe. It is not the people who asked for the probe. So let's get it clear. But what I'm saying is that there is much more noise making than the actual work. Because the work, I can tell you in Parliament, it requires a lot of research. And they don't do it.
They have research assistants. But I guess we have to leave it off here. I'm told that my time is up. Distinguished senior most lawyer, I hope to have another opportunity of engaging you on national issues as we did today. I appreciate your coming. Thank you so much, sir.
Pleasure is mine. Thank you.
Well, folks, that's where we tie the nice ribbons on today's edition of UPfront. My guests have been Sam Okujeto. Varied conversation. We hope you enjoyed it.